Well, hello everyone.
Hello,
What's
people. Hey, how
going
you guys
on?
doing? Welcome
What's
to
up?
a new show of Quarantillo Network. Tiso.
Oh,
How
we're
we
gonna go
doing?
with Nicola Network.
Claro, man. Part of La
Okay,
Escuela
you
de
got
Rap
it. You got
Cubano.
it.
All right, so
You got it.
I want to welcome you guys. We got Billy Quarantillo and David Sensei. I see him over there. Welcome,
What's
guys.
going
Welcome
on?
to this little shindig that we got going on here. We got some questions for you, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
All right, yeah, that's right, man. Thank you,
Yeah,
David, for
for
joining
having
us.
me.
Thank you, Billy. And Billy, just like Bola was saying, we do have most of the people that really follow us is mainly rap listeners, Cuban rap listeners. Imagine. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, hey, can you say what's up, but the Cuban way? So
now,
the way you
now,
say is
yeah. Now
the
that he's
way
in
you say it.
Tampa, yeah.
Yeah,
Now that
yeah,
he's in
no, no.
Tampa,
The way you say is que Bolá Asere.
All right, let me hear you again. Let me hear that
All right,
again.
so let's go slow. Que
Gotta hear this one.
Bolá Asere.
Que bula esede.
there you go. You
That's
got
pretty
it.
Que
good.
Let's
That's
bula
pretty
go.
good.
esede. Que bula
Yeah.
esede.
There it
Que
Ah,
Wait,
is.
bula
yeah.
esede.
what's up, man? Is
Listen,
David the only Cuban you know up there, man?
no. Actually, I'm in that position right now where I grew up in Buffalo, New York. Not one person spoke Spanish, so I didn't think it was a big deal not to know Spanish. Going throughout high school, you could choose either French or Spanish, and I forgot to turn. This is a true story. I forgot to turn the paper in, and at that point, everyone chose Spanish. So the classes were full. So they threw me in French. So I had to learn French for like 2 years. Never used it once in my life. But sure enough, I moved down to Tampa, and my entire neighborhood only speaks Spanish. So I'm just like, "Hola, cómo está?" And like we'll like wave, and then we'll just be like, eh.
Yeah,
And they're
pretty
they're all
much.
super cool. But I understand how long it's gonna take to like really learn Spanish, and I just haven't been able to like put myself through it yet.
No,
So let
yeah,
me
that's
ask you,
happening. It takes a little bit. It takes a little bit.
since you are in a Hispanic neighborhood, and I know you're a fighter, so you probably eat very well and is healthy and all that, which we don't.
Yep.
Do you get to eat rice and beans or not?
Oh yeah. I luckily they're all like the taco places around here. I actually have a buddy who owns a taco place like right down the street. It's called Las Capos Tacos. Um, they take care of me, and they got like all like the really authentic like Mexican tacos and Latino
Food.
the mix of it. Yeah, like the whole mix is.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
I'm always eating local, and they're all cool, and they all take care of me.
yeah.
All right,
Tampa,
good, good.
Tampa, Tampa is a brewing ground. A lot of communities come together there. It started
Yeah.
with the Cubans. I mean, Ybor City was founded by the Cuban guys, so the
Yes, yeah, the
cigar
cute.
industry.
Yep,
So
cigar and Cuban sandwiches. Yep,
yeah,
I live in
one of
like a
the
nice. Yeah, we're cool. We all train together. I've trained with David for over 10 years now, and so we have a lot of like Spanish speaking teammates. So everyone gets along. Every race, every color. That's the great thing about martial arts.
yeah.
You know,
That's a big
I got
community
some
there.
questions about your gym, though.
Well,
I'm gonna leave it for later.
Okay.
Tiso, I want you to let the people that are gonna watch us here kind of introduce, Billy and Quarantello and David, so they can have a better idea. I just wanna, so people are gonna be like, oh, Billy Q. Then, go ahead, tell them
Hell
who do
yeah.
we got? Who do we got here as a guest today?
Bro,
Tiso.
you want me to introduce him?
Yeah, man,
Do it,
go for it,
Carlito.
go
Get
for
Bro,
it.
it.
Billy Quarantello, man, one of the most exciting fighter in the UFC. The
There you
guy
go.
that's about to give me a heart attack. I think I said it earlier, man. I always call David like, "What's wrong with your friend, man? What's wrong with this guy, man? He's gonna give me a heart attack." Sometimes I think he takes too much risk. I think that's where people love him. Um, but one thing about him, man, like all his fights are exciting as hell. I truly believe that eventually, he's gonna get to where he needs to get, and obviously that is a belt. I do want to ask him later on if he's gonna be in the featherweight, bantamweight. I want to discuss that a little bit. When it comes to my brother, well, he's been doing this since my brother was a little kid, man. He's been doing MMA for a while. I thought we lost him. He went to do
Hmm.
some judo. which he's pretty good at. You know, he was well with these Japanese Olympic guys, even with Nakamura, who messed up his elbow, I think, at one point and everything. You know, Nakamura from Pride.
Yep.
You know, eventually he came back, and then he found himself with a Mata Royal. I thought it was great. I used to follow this guy when Mata Royal was in the Tufa house in the reality show. Always like him. Great attitude, very nice guy, and very skilled. Um, and then you know they both train in this gym in Tampa. It's Gracie. I think it's Gracie Tampa South, right? Am I correct? It's South, right?
Yeah, he's got the
So
shirt on right there.
it is,
Oh,
but Billy Q
David.
is a new gym owner.
I was going to ask
Yeah.
about that as well. How does that work?
So, David, do you want to talk about South first?
Yeah, so South, obviously Matt Arroyo's gym, that's where Billy and I, linked up, and but yeah, that's where the big fight team comes out of. Like, you guys know Matt Frivola, he's trained there too. Whenever he was down here in Tampa, he still visits every so often, trains. But yeah, big amateur fight team. We got a lot of pros on the coming up now too, but headed by Billy Q. He's their head coach, at least for the majority of them. And yeah, so the big fight team came out of Gracie Tampa South, not only jiu-jitsu guys, grapplers, but fighters as well. And Billy being the top dog out of there. But now he's on getting into a new chapter in his life too, where he's actually building up his fight team and at his own spot now, Gracie Pack
Nice.
MMA.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Gracie Pack MMA.
That's kind of how my journey was when I first came to Tampa. I started with Matt Arroyo, and I think David was either at headquarters or at Pack originally, like when you were even younger. And then when he started coming to South, he was super young. I remember him being like, fresh out, and now he's a grown man, black belt in both judo and jiu-jitsu. And over the last 10 plus years, Gracie Tampa South has really turned into like this this huge thing with just so many really good grapplers, so many good fighters, all headed by Matt Arroyo, who in the last few years has really focused a lot more on jiu-jitsu, like being like our head jiu-jitsu guy. He always loved jiu-jitsu more than MMA, but he was always very good at coaching fighters. And in these last few years, he's been so busy with his family and he's focusing more on jiu-jitsu. I kind of took over the amateur fight team, and now that amateur fight team has turned into like this massive fight team that cross trains at Gracie Tampa South and the gym that I took over, Gracie Pack, which of course I'm wearing the shirt right now.
There you go. There you go.
This is like
Yeah.
half of my laundry now is Gracie Pack t-shirts. I love it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Hey, and I was going to ask you, in your team, who else fights in your team, man? You got Marfa Bola. Who else? And how do you think your team, Gracie Tampa, fares against all the teams in terms of talents, in competition?
Yeah, I could definitely answer this. So Matt Arroyo was one of the first people in Tampa to get to the UFC. The UFC obviously being the big leagues of MMA. Like if you're an MMA fighter, you want to get to the UFC, or if you're going to sign with another promotion, you want to get like one of their big deals, because the UFC will consistently give you money if you're there, because it makes so much money. So Matt Arroyo was the first one. He got in the UFC. He had a couple fights, but he got cut after a few fights and decided, instead of trying to get back into the UFC, to start his own gym. So he started Gracie Tampa South. He brought up as a head coach, me, Matt Frivola, and Alon Cruz all started training under him. All three of us eventually got to the UFC. Since then, Matt Frivola went to New York to train. Alon trains in Tampa at a different gym, and he's not in the UFC anymore either. I'm still fighting in the UFC, and now we have like the next generation of fighters that we got, like guys like Will Rentz, who just won a huge fight for the CFFC, which is like a regional promotion. We got Blake Smith, who was a regional champion, who's like right outside of the UFC. We have like a bunch of other fighters that are like right on the edge of getting to those big leagues. And then recently we've had Jalen Turner just moved
Oh,
down here to Florida, so he's been training with us. He's been top 15 in the lightweight division forever. And then we also have Shane Burgos just moved down here as well. We actually had a crazy fight at Madison Square Garden in 2021, and eventually he ended up moving down here as well. So I think he's going to be doing his training camp with us as well. So we're becoming this gym now where not only are we building guys up, which is my favorite thing to do, but have these other really big names when they come to town and they decide to move here. We're the gym they go to because it's the highest level. It's the highest level of grappling, and it's the highest level MMA as well.
Good.
man, those names you throw at the
100%.
end, they're big, man.
Big names
Jalen
going
Turner
around. Yeah.
and Burgos. Did you get the bonus of that fight? No, right? Bonus of the fight of the night, or you did? You did?
We fought right after Justin Gagey and Michael Chandler, and that was that fight that like it was like the fight of the year. It ended up getting all these awards for fight of the year, but it was me and Shane fought on the main card of a pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden. Super close fight. And then Dana White did send me a few racks after. So I was
There you go. There you go.
it was
I always
pretty
have
Hello,
something for
hello.
Yeah.
That's
You get
always good, man.
Yeah, you get,
Hey.
you get those emails from it's from their bank, HSBC, and it's
There
like
you go.
all encrypted, and then the next day it goes through. So like every fight you're like waiting for that after, and then when it comes, you're like,
Oh.
hell yeah.
So it comes as a surprise, right? You get everything is covered. You can't see anything. You're just waiting for it to hit
Yep.
it. Once it hits,
Yep.
it's like, whoa, here it
Yep.
is.
Uncle
So-
Dana, Uncle Dana.
Exactly.
That's
So
good.
yeah,
I
how
like that.
it
I
works
like
is it's usually like 5 or 6 weeks after the fight, and if you look at your email every day, it'll pop up in your email, so you'll see like HSBC, but it could be sometimes they'll send you like $100 for like your medicals or like whatever, but then sometimes it's like 10,000, 20,000, even
Yeah.
more, 50,000 if you get the performance bonus.
Nice.
So sometimes you're like, oh my god, this is amazing.
It's always good.
Good.
It's always good.
It's funny you said that because I have a friend that's always arguing with me, right? And she tells me that MMA, like the UFC should pay more and whatever and this and that, and I don't want to get into that that theme right now. But I say a lot of times people don't know what they really get paid. Like I remember Chuck Liddell made $1 million back then, and it wasn't even disclosed. People didn't know that. So I'm guessing that gets to happen. But anyways, like I said, I don't want to go that round. You did mention Mata Arroyo and all that, and I know is your black belt from Mata Arroyo, Billy?
Yeah. Matt has been ever since I moved to Tampa. I literally went from Buffalo to Tampa, and I went by a few different gyms, but I already knew who Matt Arroyo was because of the Ultimate Fighter. And when I met him, we like right away he told me like I'm like, hey, I want to get into the UFC, and he's like, all right, well, and David can attest to this that he's like very like goal oriented and he'll shoot straight with you, which I loved that because I didn't need any more like MMA friends. I needed like a guy like that, like a head coach who was like, listen, this is what I had to do to get to the UFC. You got to work your ass off every day. You got to do all the right stuff. You got to eat clean. You got to be healthy. You got to live this lifestyle. You got to be obsessed with it because at the time I was already 21 years old. So like I didn't know what I was doing at 21. He's like, you got to give this thing everything you got. And then I'm like, all right, well, if I train with you, you're going to help me. He's like, I'll help you every step of the way. And he's like, and I just did this, so I know how to do it. I know how to do it. You know what I mean? Like he knows exactly what it takes. And sure enough, I followed the playbook, and I'm still in the UFC now.
Awesome.
So David, I know your black belt in jiu-jitsu comes from Rob Khan, right? Which comes from Dan
Right.
Hoist Gracie. Those Mata Arroyos and Billy come from the same lineage?
Yep, same lineage. Rob Kahn, Matt Arroyo, Billy Quarantillo. Yep. And actually, what's funny, Matt was also there with Rob when I got my black belt. So technically, I would say, yeah, Matt definitely helped get that black belt. So partially under him too. Definitely, he gets his credit.
Nice. Okay, so
I think
listen,
that's,
Billy.
Very important, though, real quick. Very important that, like you said, Billy and David, you gotta have that support. That support and somebody that's got experience and they can guide you the right way. That's always very important. And then people go far. I mean, prime example yourself. You can see
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Billy, I wanted to ask you about the current state of the featherweight and who would you like to fight or how do you see it and whatnot. Well, first I would like to ask you if you will get the chance to fight one of these two people, right? One of these two persons I'm gonna say right now.
This is good.
who would you
Yeah, I couldn't.
choose and why? And that is of course, this is an easy one. You know, Conor McGregor, and the other one is Colby Covington. Who
Oh
would you
yeah.
rather fight?
Oh, this is the easiest decision ever. It's Conor McGregor. It's a no brainer. It's he always made those jokes about like red panty night, and that is the realest thing. Like guys who got the chance to fight Conor McGregor and they had the right management team that got like, for example, I remember when I was on the Ultimate Fighter with Chad Mendez, he just got done fighting McGregor, and I was talking to like all of his teammates, and they told me obviously like it wasn't. I'm it might be non-disclosed now, but they said he made more in that fight than all of his fights combined. He made like
Wow.
$700,000 or $800,000, which isn't like you know multi-millionaire, but still at the time, this was almost 10 years ago. So
Right.
at the time, that was a big deal. And all those other fights he had up until that point, like, and of course, after that, he still had some big fights after that. But still, like the McGregor fight, you're getting a ton of money. And even if it was for free, you're going to get so much attention, at least for 2 or 3 months. And if you could do something in that fight, you can make it like, yeah, McGregor. I think any fighter in the world, I think Conor McGregor is probably the biggest fight, and then pretty soon, if not now, Sugar Sean O'Malley is going to be that guy. I think where like if you fight him, it's gonna be a huge payday.
Do you think O'Malley beat Peter Yan in the last fight? Do you agree with that result or not?
No, when I watched it live, I was surprised when he won it. When he won it, when I watched it live on TV, I would have to go back and watch it. I just remember thinking that when the second the fight ended, I was like, oh shit, O'Malley put up a good fight, but he still lost that fight. But then after, like, he's the winner. I thought about it more, and they do judge fights a lot of times on damage, and he did hit him with some huge shots,
Yeah.
but Jan was able to pretty much take him down and ragdoll him a little bit. But at the same time, certain judges, you never know.
Let me ask you: is that a name that you would like to pursue eventually one day, Sean O'Malley, if you could?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course, man. Like I said, I'm 35 years old. I got a few big fights left, and I'm hoping to have the biggest fights. So I'm not interested in fighting random no-name people at the Apex. My goal now is to just get the biggest and best opportunities. O'Malley fights at a weight class under me. He fights at 35. But if he came up to 45, absolutely. I would love to put myself in a position for like a big fight like that. I know what it takes. I need to go out there and just murk the next person, which I've been back in the lab really working and honing my skill set. So I'm taking it one fight at a time, but definitely the biggest and best opportunities is what I'm looking for with these last couple of years in my career.
So this featherweight class right now, I was looking at it this morning, and the people that caught my eye out of the top 15 were Diego Lopez, Jair, and Max Holloway. You know, and thinking in terms of fighting you, how do you
Yeah,
think you fare with those three guys? And if you
yeah.
were to choose one, who would it be?
All right. So first, if I could choose any of those, it would be just almost like out of respect would be Max Holloway, just because he's such a legend. He's one of those guys that like I think I might even be older than him, but he's been in the UFC the last like 10 plus years. So he's one of those guys that I've followed and I've studied and I've broken him down. And I've even fought like him. So he's definitely someone that would be like a bucket list OG fight. He also fought. I was the co-main event to his main event fight before. So like I got to like meet him and talk to him and like see him, working out and all that. So it was really cool. Those three guys, yeah, they're all studs, man. They all have different ways where they could beat you. Where Max Holloway is super tough and he could box your ears off, and it's almost like you can't hurt him. Against Justin Gagey, how Justin Gagey kept chopping his legs, and he didn't even start limping, or even you didn't even notice it. And if you've seen Justin Gagey fight, when he leg kicks people, they start limping like right away.
Right
So
away.
like, yeah, like you almost can't hurt Max Holloway. Diego Lopez is just on like a crazy run right now, where it's interesting because he had some fights where like he didn't look very good. And then recently, in the last like 2 years, he's just been smoking everyone. So it's impressive to what he's been doing the last couple of years. And then Yair Rodriguez just super. I think he would stylistically, I think that'd be the best matchup for me right now. He's getting a little bit older, and not even older, but he's been in a million wars, and he's also had some injuries. So he's getting like to, basically where I'm at, where I'm 35. I've had 30 training camps and all kinds of wars. But I know I still got at least a good handful of fights left in me too.
Have they ever flown that name by you, like Jair?
Not Yair. Diego Lopez, when he was on his way up, he was someone that I thought we could have got matched up together, but not. Basically, the closest I've gotten to, like, I've had 2 fights that I've lost for the top 15, Shane Burgos and Edson Barbosa. So, I fought like Damon Jackson was ranked like 20th when, according to Tapology, when I fought him. So I'm fighting guys in the top 20, but I gotta get past that, that top 20 fight.
This guy that you just mentioned, he just fought Mariscal the other day, and I thought it was a very impressive fight. How do you think you will fare against that guy, Mariscal? Is
Who
that
is
something
that?
that could Mariscal, the guy that just beat what's his name? Man, the last guy that you beat, what's his name?
Oh, Damien.
Yeah. Oh, Damon Jackson. Yeah. His
Yeah,
opponent.
that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I actually didn't get a chance to watch that fight. My kids are terrorists, so I was out doing stuff with them. So I didn't even get a chance to watch that fight. All I know is I heard Damon Jackson like took him down, and then he was getting beat up on top. And then I guess the guy took over and beat him up pretty good. I did notice. I heard he missed weight, which if you notice in the UFC, man, when these guys miss weight, it's because they cut a ton of weight, and they usually win. So it's a tough situation because no fighter wants to say no to a fight, but at the same time, I'm sure Damon Jackson was much smaller than that guy.
It felt so right away. Let me ask you. I know you always come out like the nicest guy ever, man. And I never see you. I never heard you call out anybody or say anything about anybody. So, is there anybody? Is there anybody that you would like to put your hands on in the UFC that to make an example of and say, man, if I were, to choose based on somebody that I dislike, it will be this person. Is there somebody like that or not?
So it's an interesting thing, man, because I grew up watching like WWF wrestling, like fake wrestling, where like they get after it, and I used to love that kind of stuff, and I love the drama of it. At the same time, it's obviously like, especially like what Colby does, what Connor does, it's an act. So they're kind of acting on that. So there's no one that like I really dislike, but at the same time, like if you've seen my posts, I'm always talking shit to Nate Landwehr because even when he like whether he wins or loses, he's always like, oh, Billy Q, on the mic one time he's like, I'm gonna tee off on Billy Q. And
Why?
then in the interview, he's like, oh man, me and Billy Q are gonna get it. Like he's always just saying my name. So me and Nate Landwehr are gonna fight eventually. I definitely think I can knock him out. I think it's gonna be a great fight. The Bill Elgio fight is always gonna make sense because it's like the battle of the Bills. We were supposed to fight at one point, and a lot of people were hyping it up, but I actually had to pull out of our fight, and then he ended up fighting Herbert Burns and getting a pretty easy win. So that would be a fight that still makes sense. If I saw Kyle Nelson was gonna fight Kelvin Cater, and I was thinking like the winner or the loser of that might be a good matchup down the road too, because I knocked out Kyle Nelson, and he's been winning his last few fights, so he was gonna get a top 15 fight. So I have a knockout win over him. So if he wants to get that one back, that might be an easy way for I to get back, in the top 15. Not an easy way, but just a way that like we've already had history. I got a nasty highlight reel knocking him out, and if he's in the top 15, it's obviously nothing personal, but those are bucket list
makes
things.
sense.
Of course, yeah,
Exactly.
makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Aljo Q sounds like a nasty, like a gangster, type of fight, man.
Yeah, Bill Elgio versus Billy Q. But I think he's lost. Like he got knocked out by Kyle Nelson, which is crazy, and then he lost to someone else. So I lost my last fight too, but I'm
That-
still, I'm looking for the top 15 guys as well. So whoever they give me, I'm ready to fight, and then after that, I'll have another top 15 name ready and get and do my best to get back in there.
so actually, since you touched that, let me ask you about those fights that you lost, and let me give you my perspective, right? Because I was watching the fight with Barbosa, and I thought, I swear, I could have put my whole house that you were gonna win that fight.
I hope you
Like,
didn't.
no, I didn't. But I'm saying, I don't bet. I don't bet. But I'm saying, like, there's no way Billy's gonna lose this fight. And
Good,
he
good.
tends to, even though he's strong and he has character, he tends to, like be very, very strong in the first round and get
Yeah,
tired after that, right?
yeah,
So you were tiring him, like you are relentless, bro.
yeah,
And suddenly you get caught with his knee, and I'm like, well, it took me a minute to realize, like, no, he's down, he's down. Like, I was like, no, something happened. No, he was out, and I couldn't believe it, right? So okay, it happened, but then in the last fight with Joseph, I was like, I'm not seeing the same Billy. It felt like I called my brother. I said, man, was this fight, something late that came out, or was did something happen? And he's like, no, not that I know. I'm like, something was different about Billy. Can you elaborate there? What happened and what did you
yeah,
learn about these fights?
yeah, absolutely, man. And you're definitely not the first person to say that. It was there was just a lot going on, man. The whole training camp, and again, I said this right after the fight. I'm like, I don't want to make excuses because which fighter? There's never a fighter that has like a perfect training camp. It doesn't have anything to worry about or anything like that. So it all does sound like an excuse. But I will say what happened and why. Like I felt so sluggish that day. So first, this fight was made because they actually offered me a fight a few weeks later in an arena. I think it was in like Atlantic City. But my wife was due with our second baby, who, now he's 4 months old. So that fight that they wanted me to do was basically like right around her due date. So we took the fight a couple weeks early at the Apex. Then, leading up to that, like 3 weeks before the fight, our whole team got sick. I got pretty badly sick. A bunch of people got sick. One of our fighters, Will Rentz, had to pull out of his fight because he got sick. For me, I basically just lost a bunch of weight. So I went from like 170 to like 160, which normally I would slowly get down to, which you have to do anyway because I fight at 45. So that I start getting better, and this is like 2 weeks out from the fight. So I'm like not even worried about it again. In my head, I'm like, I got sick, but I lost some weight. So really it just helped me get closer to my weight cut anyway. Right? I'm trying to look at like the positives of it. So then that week I end up going to the hospital with my wife because she's having like basically they think like either the baby's coming or she was having some issues where we had to go to the hospital a couple times that week right before I left. So I go out fight week and I'm thinking at any point my wife could have this baby. Not even thinking about like, being sick a couple weeks ago or whatever. But there's obviously a little bit of stress there of like at any moment my wife could suddenly be like, dude, you're having a baby. Like you got to either come home now or go through with it. So then, and again, not to make excuses because a lot of fighters deal with shit like this. So then comes the weight cut where I'm thinking at this point, I'm still a few pounds ahead of where I usually am. Like, I'm like, all right, I only got to cut like 11 pounds the day of, the day before weights. No problem. Cause I've done that before many times. So the first half of the day, I lose like 5 or 6 pounds. And I'm thinking the last 5 pounds, we'll just do it at night and I'll just do it as fast as I can and we'll be done with it. So I wait throughout the day. We don't really do much. That night, we go to cut the weight, and we basically purposely wait until like late at night because the weigh-ins are at 9 a.m. So you want to like get it done late. Usually I can't sleep anyway, so you just like stay up like a skeleton waiting to weigh in. So I decide I'm like, we're gonna do this weight cut as fast as we can, just so I can like go home and get some rest. So I do like the whole sweatsuit, sauna suit, everything. Start off, I go super hard on the elliptical for like 30 minutes. I'm like pouring sweat. Go right from there to the sauna, do like another 30-minute session, all in like the sauna suit, the sweet sweat, the layers, and I'm just cooking. It was hot as shit. So I do that for like 30 minutes. I'm like pouring sweat, dying out, which again, every fighter does. I just try to do it a lot faster. So I get out of there, keep everything on. I get in the sauna blanket. Now I'm just like laying like a vegetable, and I'm losing the weight, losing the weight, losing the weight. They basically take that off. I'm pouring out all this sweat, and in that like hour and a half, I lost the 5 pounds. So like I
Wow.
basically was like almost on weight at that point. So I like lose all the weight, but I don't know this at the time. So I sweat everything out, and I'm feeling like I'm like dead, but I'm like I know in my mind I'm like I know I lost a lot of weight. I know I'm close. So then I get cleaned up and I go and check my weight. The scale is on like this like goofy tile at the gym.
Mm.
So I weigh in, and it basically, and I thought I was like close. It said I only lost like 2 pounds, and I still had like 3 pounds to go. So I sat down. I was like, oh my God. Like I was like almost like
Wow.
heartbroken. Then I start like, I feel like I have to puke. I start like dry heaving. I'm like, "Ugh, ugh." I'm like, oh, run over to the sink in the gym. We're at like an what's it like EOS, like EOS.
Yep.
So yeah, so we were there, and so I start like dry heaving and like puking up like bile. I'm like, "Ugh,
Ooh.
ugh, ugh." And in my
All
head,
green.
because this is how sick I am. I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm spitting stuff out. I'm like, I'm getting closer to make weight, and literally, I'm like puking it up. So I get cleaned up. It was me, Matt Frivola, and Will Rentz. Ask Will Rentz about it because he was with me the whole time. Like, God damn, dude. So we leave there. We go back to the fighter. We go back to the fighter hotel because I got to check my weight. I go upstairs to check my weight, and I'm still like, ugh, like I feel like I'm like sick now. I checked my weight, and I was zero point 0.2 over. So like I was basically on weight, but I was like a quarter of a pound over still, which is like really not a lot. So then I'm like, oh hell yeah, like I'm gonna like make weight. Sure enough, right after I get off the scale, I start dry heaving again. And I'm like, bleh. And this time I actually like puke up like bile because there's no food in my body.
There's nothing there. Yeah.
And again, I was like, I'm definitely on weight now. I go and check again and I'm right on weight. I puked up like that point too. So
That sucks,
then,
man.
all I'm thinking of it this time is, dude, you made weight. Who gives a shit, right? So I go back up to my bed, and I feel like I'm like pretty like I feel obviously completely dead and drained, but I'm like, all right, you made weight. It was a tough day, but whatever, we're gonna be fine. A few times that night, I'm like, ugh, ugh, like doing like this like weird dry heaving thing. So like I was a little worried about it, but at the same time, I knew I was on weight. So sure enough, I make weight. I'm still like feel like I'm like sick. I start being able to hydrate, eat food, whatever, get some rest, do whatever, eat all my food, do whatever. I get back up, and then in my head, I just completely, you have nothing. Who cares what happened before? You made weight, you're hydrated, you're ready to fight, whatever. Have a good dinner, do all like my usual stuff, do the shakeout in the morning, and dude, I walked out for there to that Apex fight like I just couldn't get up for it. Like I just didn't like I just couldn't like I just it was like the weirdest thing because you're fighting at the apex, which feels like you're like in a gym anyway, and they're like ding ding ding. I touch gloves, and it just feels like I'm like lethargic. I couldn't move. Like I'm in
Feel kind of
like
sluggish. Yeah.
exactly completely sluggish and almost like I I I wouldn't even say like I didn't want to be there, but I didn't care that like it didn't feel like a UFC fight. It felt like I was just like going through the motions, and then sure enough, like he takes me out. I'm like, oh, and even when he was on top of me, I was like, oh, like I'm fine here. Like like you've been here before. You're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and then he gets to my back, and I'm like, oh shit. And then I'm defending, and next thing you know, it's in, and like I tapped, and I'm like, dude, I just felt like it was like a jiu-jitsu class. I was like, I can't believe that I let that happen to me, and there's nothing I can do about it now. If I could go back, I probably wouldn't have taken the fight because he did also Zalal came into the fight like 2 weeks before the fight. I was supposed to fight someone else, and I found out he's getting ready. He was basically going to be an alternate on the Ultimate Fighter, so he's already done his whole training camp anyway. So it wasn't like a replacement fight where the guy's coming off the couch. He was getting ready for like the biggest fight of his career because he was already in the UFC. So he was looking to get re-signed. So he was fighting like it was the biggest fight of his life,
Yeah.
which it was. And I was fighting. I'm like, fuck it, just get it over with. And you're about to have a baby next week. Like, who cares that you were sick? Who cares that you have all this stuff going on? So that's my perspective of it. And part of me part of me wants to go back to the Apex just to redeem myself, and the other part of me never wants to go to the Apex again because it's there's to explain to you guys the difference, and I'm sure David knows because you fought in front of crowds before, or done jiu-jitsu in front of crowds. When there's 100, even 100, 200, 300, 5,000, 10,000 people watching you, it gives like this like weird energy where it's like you don't want to like I don't know what it is, like you're just like,
I mean, you feel like you feed from it. I mean, that's
yeah,
what
absolutely,
I'm getting.
absolutely you feel there's like that energy there, the people paying attention to you and watching you, it gives you some kind of like weird energy that it's hard to explain, but the Apex fight feels like it's like practice sometimes, and I fought there a bunch of times, so that's all I could say. Like I said,
Hey, so
every fighter goes through something, but that's why I feel like it just wasn't my night.
You got both side of the spectrum. You got one guy fighting for to get re-signed, and he's thinking that this is my fight, this is the highlight.
No.
I gotta get this.
No, bro.
And then you got on the other side, you got Billy. He's thinking about his wife, his family, his mentally, maybe physically. It's kind of a combination of both. And this is what happened. But it's
well. The reason I ask is because I truly believe, and not because Bill is here. I think if Yusuf was here or Barbosa, I would say the same, even though they probably wouldn't like it. But I think, based on what we saw with Barbosa, I think there's no way Billy get caught up with another knee in another fight. Like if they will fight again, I think Barbosa knows what will happen, and I feel so. That's my way. That's my opinion.
I appreciate that.
I think Billy takes Barbosa. There's no question. I was surprised. I was really, really surprised. And then the other guy, Joseph, very good fighter. But again, I don't see, like, if they go at it again, I don't see Billy losing. But that day, it's like he wasn't there. It's like, he wasn't concentrating on the target. It's like, to me, my opinion is like, that's why I asked David, it's like his mind was somewhere else, man. And of course, I understand Billy's not going to come out and say, I had this issue, the bio, that, because people don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear that. Exactly. So that's why I asked, because this is my time to ask him. And, it makes sense, man. It makes sense. But I just want you to know, man, I think if you take those two fights, at least those, I don't know about the rest of the, the top guys, but those two guys, I think Billy takes them. But anyways, I wanted to
too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Man, I haven't seen anybody with the extensive record that Billy has after each loss always comes back better. So if you check his fights, man, he absolutely learns from each loss. So yeah, Billy,
you kind of answer one of my questions. One of my questions was that, once after you lose a fight, a lot of people, they come down, but a lot of people don't learn from it. I mean, you're an example of that. You come back better, learning from it, picking things that you maybe think, oh, maybe I should have done this, should have done that. I got to improve my technique here or there. That's great. I mean, that's the heart of a champion, man. In my opinion, that's something that you take with you, and I congratulate you for it. Congratulate you for sure.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, Billy, let me ask you, how do you deal with partners being on the same, let's say, training partners? It's my understanding that in the past you have trained with Algiman, right? Sterling.
Yeah.
So you both are on the featherweight. How do you manage something like that so it doesn't come to, like, if you're both being successful, you end up with a situation like Tito and Chuck? How does that work?
Yeah. Good question, man. For me, it's like I like to think of it like the odds of me fighting one of these guys are pretty low. With Aljamain, he's just one of those guys that he's just always down to train with whoever, really. And he's at the point, like, I would love to be where he's at, where he's fighting for belts and stuff. With Matt Fervola, we used to joke around all the time that, like, and it was funny to think about now. We would joke. We used to, like, be roommates together in, like, 2011. And we would joke, like, dude, I would definitely fight you to get on the Ultimate Fighter. Like, that was, like, the biggest goal for us was just to get on TV, like, once. And little did we know, like, we would both end up in the UFC for 10-plus fights each. So it's funny how, like, when you don't have anything, you're like, bro, I'd fight you for, like, our rent check this month, which is like $300. But now it's like, now it's like a higher level. Like, I wouldn't fight for Bola unless it was like a ton of money. We both like been in each other's weddings. We both have, like, he's met my son before. He stayed at my house. We've lived together. So there's certain guys like for Vola, there's like a couple of guys that are like, I just won't fight. And then there's like 98% of everyone else I definitely would fight. And I'm in a position where I'm trying to climb the rankings anyway. So there's really no, it's just a fight at the end of the day.
So it's safe to say that Fabola and Algimon, they're your boys, right?
Yeah.
So you to those people that thought that Algimon kind of like those fights with Peter Jan were kind of like, haha, you will never go against Algimon on that, right?
No. So you know what the crazy thing about that is? I was actually in Vegas at Aljamain's house for the first Peter Yan fight when he kneed him in the face. I was with his whole family and all of his friends. And like if you know martial arts and if you're like that decision Aljamain made was probably one of the best decisions he's ever made because say what you want about him. It got him another title fight. He took advantage of that and won that fight. He defends it again, and he ends up being one of the best bantamweights of all time. And that fight obviously wasn't going his way. It's not his job to not need do something illegal.
Oh, got you,
And
got you.
the frustrating part of that was when he came back, he was obviously like not like super happy because how the fight was going. And like one of his brothers made a speech. They're like, Eljo, you've been working your whole life for this. It's not how you wanted to win the belt, but it's your belt now, and you're gonna fight him again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like be positive about it. And like he had like the glass of champagne, and it ended up being like this like huge meme of like him like he was like taunting, and that was not the case at all. So I'll always like he's one of the guys that they all look up to at Long Island, and he's one of the guys for me. He has like what I would want. I would want the a world championship, defending the belt, huge sponsors. He lives in has several houses. Like so, I'm trying to get on that.
He's a nice guy, to your
Super
opinion.
nice guy. Yeah, he's always been great to me, and he's I've gone to Law MMA where he teaches classes. Dude, he understands the game. He studies the game. He watches every fight. Like he watches Contender Series. He watches UFC. He watched like the CJI yesterday. He does grappling tournaments. He's the real deal, man.
Does he get that belt again?
Maybe he's fighting for he might get it. He's got a killer in front of him with Maslov Ivalov. If he gets through him, man, I don't know who could stop his wrestling in the 145-pound division, but we'll see. Him and Ilya Taporia could be a huge fight because he's a former champion. So he's a big name. So as long as he gets by this next guy, I think he could be fighting for the belt.
Gotcha. All right, so listen, let me ask you a series of questions, just like quick questions, right?
Okay,
So you
got
can
it.
answer out of your. So the first one, I don't know if I ask you, man. You mentioned that you saw me in Burns, that I saw you. I
Yeah.
approached. Remember, we were there. Did you like that food in there? Would you say was it worth it? Because you have to have like 6 months reservation and whatnot. Was it worth it?
Yeah, yeah. Like listen. So I'm a Tampa guy, and Burns is just like
The
the
place
class,
is a
the
place, yeah.
spot. It's the spot you got to go to. And actually, I was actually my parents live in Buffalo still, and they were visiting me, so I brought them there because we always talked about it. I used to go to Burns when I first moved here. That was like the cool spot. So for me, it's worth it. I love steak, so I'm just like a big steak guy. And I like how they give you like the soup, the salad, the side, like it just all comes out. So for me, it's worth it. Everyone has their own opinion and price, but for me, and for me, it's more of like, take your girl there, go to the dessert room after. It's like the ambiance of the whole thing.
The experience.
And
No, the ambience is
yeah,
crazy, and the
it's
steak
got
were
a
good.
yeah, it's got a
It's
crazy
just
history too.
no to me when I went to the second floor, man. I went to the dessert. I'm a dessert addict, man. Like I go
Yeah,
everywhere looking for the best dessert ever. I even
I don't
yeah,
know
told
how
David a
this
bunch
guy
of times,
isn't
hey,
fat, bro.
I'm in,
Like his
I'm always
sugar.
telling. How many times I told you, David, hey, I'm inviting you and Billy and your boys. I'm inviting everybody. Let's go to Ulili's to get
Yep,
the bacon ice cream with the whole maple syrup and all that. That
crazy.
nice place in Ulili. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And
oh yeah,
so. But anyways, that was my thought. But I know your mom. She owns a dinner in
yep,
a diner in Buffalo, right? Is it in Buffalo?
yes sir, yes sir.
Let me ask you, what's the best dessert in that menu?
Ooh, the best dessert. That's interesting. So my mom is like through and through. She's like a cook. She's always cooking, all different types of stuff. And she'll actually like for like her grandkids now. She's always making them like the pancakes with like the chocolate chips and like the Mickey Mouse face on it. I would have to say, and I don't even know if my mom serves this that much, but my mom makes the best key lime pie that
Ooh.
like
Oh,
I've ever had. And it's like homemade,
Okay.
and even like she'll make it and like she'll freeze it. So we used to like when we were younger, we'd get out of the freezer and like cut it up, and it would like dissolve. It would like defrost, but like it was still like really cold. And oh my god, it was. I've never had one like it, and I don't know if it's like your mom and your family have like
Yeah.
certain recipes, or like some people are like, oh, it's good. That for me, it was like it wouldn't be something that I normally would like. But my mom makes the best key lime pie. So if you're in Western New York, it's actually a little town called Lewiston, New York. It is the cutest like little town
what's
that
the
I
name
grew.
of the
Lewiston.
Lewiston,
the
New
name
It's
of
York. All
and
right.
my
All
mom's
right.
diner. It's called the Hillview Cafe, and she's owned it for like
Hillview?
Hillview. Like
Hillview
it's
Cafe.
on like the Hillview. So it's
Yeah.
up. There's like a little hill that it's on, and then there's like a bigger hill that comes up. So it's a super small town diner. They have a whole Billy Q wall because a bunch of my dad's friends were like, "Why don't you have any pictures of Billy and like his fights and stuff like that?" So my dad just went like all in on it, and he has like all my posters of all my fights, and he has like a cage over it. It's the most ridiculous thing.
That's good.
But I was like,
That's awesome.
and I always joke with I have four, I have three brothers and one sister, and I always joke that I'm the favorite because I got my own wall.
Oh yeah, so you
They're
mentioned
not
your
on the
dad.
wall. They're not on the
You
wall.
mentioned your dad, right? So
Yep,
the Quarantillo last name,
yep,
that's Italian, right?
yes, sir. My
Do you know the
grandfather,
story? Do you know the story behind it?
my family,
Yeah,
yeah,
should. Yeah.
vaguely. So my grandfather's family, they were from Naples, Italy, and they came over. I believe they came through Ellis Island. They came through New York, and then I don't know how they ended up. I don't know how they ended up in Buffalo. He did a bunch of different jobs growing up, but I know my grandparents. I know they're from Naples. Everyone in my family goes to Italy like every other year. A big group of them go, and the only time I would have been able to go was like 2 years ago, or like 2 years ago I had my kid. 4 years ago was like the middle of the pandemic, and like I just always like I'm doing something, like I'm fighting or
Yeah.
training. So I've actually never been, but it's definitely like on my places that I need to go to. Go back to the motherland, and they always like travel all over. So they'll probably show me where my family's actually from.
All right,
Okay,
so
good.
you're a Buffalo guy, right? So I said I was gonna go quick with these questions, but I
Yes,
know I'm
sir.
taking my time. I'm sorry about that. So now that you're in South Florida, if you have to choose a jersey between Thurman Thomas and let's say Mike Alstott, what
Yeah,
jersey you wear?
man, that's a great question. I have to, and this is something that I've been so torn on the last few years because I grew up in Buffalo. I'm a hardcore Bills fan, but recently the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been like they've reached out to me. They're like their PR people. They actually
Yeah.
they brought me to a game and gave me a like a Quarantillo jersey with number 23 for
Oh,
20 going like mint jersey. It looks dope as shit. It was like they got all the bells and whistles. But I even told the guy, I'm like, listen, it's in my blood. I grew up like my dad was a diehard Bills fan. All of his friends are diehard Bills fans. The first like when I was like, I think I was like 2, 3, 4, and 5, or like maybe like 3, 4, 5, and 6, were the 4 years the Bills went to the Super Bowl. So like things are just
Yeah.
crazy around there because it's like the only thing they have is like we love our sport, like our local sports team, and like they're actually good now. So I grew up with like hardcore Bills fans. I went through years of them being terrible. So it would have to be a Thurman Thomas jersey. I respect both guys, but if and when the Bills win a Super Bowl, I will definitely get like a Buffalo tattoo, and I'll probably go home for like a month and just party and drink with everyone because that's just like
got it.
it's
So
just been so long
Whatever,
for them.
so
whatever
so
you
but
do,
remember,
look,
but we
Whatever you
Bola, go
do,
ahead.
don't show up at the diner with that jersey, man. That wall is gonna come down quick. So,
Oh yeah, no, I don't. I only wear. I can only wear that jersey in Tampa at the Bucks game,
there
and
you
they
go.
can't be playing the Bills, or else I
There
can't
you
wear
go.
So
it.
There you go.
if
You
you were
take
to
pictures with
start,
them?
What's that?
if you were,
You take pictures with it?
I did. There are some pictures up there, but I have like the jersey, and it's in front of the stadium, so like people know it was like
Yeah. You can
And you
link
know
one with
what?
the
Word,
other.
word.
The Bills PR people haven't reached out to me, so it's like kind of it's it hurts me a little bit, but I'm still like they're it's just who I grew up with.
Until they come along.
okay, so wait,
Exactly.
wait a minute, wait a
They
minute.
eventually will.
If you were to start your own team, right? Your team,
Yep.
and you have to choose between Jim Kelly and Dan Marino.
Jim Kelly by a million. Me and everyone I know hate. Me and everyone I grew up with hate Dan Marino.
Oh,
He,
really?
he was like, and my
Rivals.
my brother
Oh,
actually
but
used to
they're
have a
boys.
sign.
They're boys.
My brother used to. I think he still has the sign. It says "I hate Dan Marino." It's a huge sign that says that. My brother, like that's how.
Petty.
That's just how it
Hey,
is.
Billy, are you a complete athlete or like me? For example, I did MMA for a little bit back in the days, like 20 years ago, and I was good at it, but I sucked at basketball. Are you one of these people like me, or you good at everything? Like
No, no,
you
no,
play
no.
ball?
So I didn't. At first when you asked me that question, I thought you meant like, am I like an athlete? Like all I do is eat, sleep, train, and that's kind of how I am now because I always trained hard, but I like when I was younger in like my 20s, we would have a fight and then we can go have some drinks after and like slack off for a week and then get right back to work. And now for me, especially coming off a loss, I'm just obsessed with MMA, martial arts, helping my gym grow, learning and
Oh yeah.
teaching and that. But to answer your question, no, I'm a terrible basketball player. Any sport, like I was a good hockey player. I could play hockey. I could
You play
still get
hockey?
out there. Yeah, I could still get out there and put up some numbers against other 35-year-old men. Any sport that's like kind of physical, like football, I was decent at. Like I could hit pretty hard, but I wasn't like ever really fast. So like that's what I like about MMA because like you can't really run from me, but I can get like I'm gonna put these paws on you, which I liked. I always like getting physical, getting aggressive. Those kind of sports I like.
All right, so let me get you on basketball real quick. If you were to start, bench, and fire, and we have Dwayne Wade, we have Kobe, and we have LeBron. How does it go?
Okay, wait, what are the three?
You have to start one of them. The other one goes to the
Okay,
bench, and the other one you just fire.
One
the one of
fire,
them.
one plays, one bench.
Okay, I fire one of them,
Yeah.
or like I thought you said I fight one of them. I'm like,
No, no,
damn.
no, no, no. Oh, that's a good one.
Oh,
That's a good
that'll
one.
be no competition there. We know that.
Yeah.
Can we
All right,
change
wait.
it?
So
You eat him up alive.
it's LeBron, Kobe, and who?
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade. All right, so I got to fire Dwayne Wade. I got to honestly, people aren't gonna like this, and I'm kind of
Hey
going back
man,
and
just
forth.
say it. Just say
If
it. It's
if
good.
it's dude, I think LeBron James is the best player. I feel like people that say Michael Jordan are one they try to prove that they've been watching basketball for like 30 years. Like they're like the old heads are like Michael Jordan, but man, what LeBron is able to do year in and year out. Kobe was something special too, but man, it's a tough one. But I'd probably start LeBron and Kobe on the bench.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I
So
know,
since
no, you
and
hit
I
another
know,
with Diesel.
I
what
know.
about? Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So listen, and I saw someone talking about this the other day. The way Kobe died, if you were a basketball fan and you watched Kobe Bryant, like I did, when he died and the way he died, he basically like turned into like the messiah of basketball.
Yeah.
Not really.
Everyone,
I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way,
I
man.
think a lot of people look at it now like Kobe was you know what I mean? Like just like Biggie and Tupac when they died. Now it's like
That's a different story. It went that way, but I don't think it happened with Kobe. As a matter of fact, if you look at the people that's been there, like Allen Iverson, Tracy McGrady, Shaq, it's like the disrespect. It's like LeBron versus MJ. There's no Kobe
yeah,
conversation anymore. It's like down there in the 7, 8 spot. Remember, man,
yeah. I
when
guess it
when
was him.
Kobe Bryant had that injury in his Achilles, he
Yep.
was the number 2 scorer in the league.
Yeah.
After the All Star game, they say there was no way the Lakers were gonna take it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
They had the best record because Kobe say, okay, you want Howard, you want,
Yeah.
I mean, not you want Howard, Dwight Howard, do you want the ball? I'll give you the ball, but we need to win. And he
Yeah.
started passing the ball more to him. So, it's another subject. I don't want to go down
I
the
think
road.
the
So,
biggest
hey,
thing too that to Billy's point is like Kobe mentally, nobody was outworking Kobe.
Yeah.
Nobody was thinking more confidently than Kobe, no
That's for
matter
sure.
what day it
Yep.
was. I think him and MJ mentally probably even, but
Yeah.
man, I think how Billy put it, the Messiah, more so in like how you should be as a not even a basketball player,
Yeah.
as an athlete,
Well,
a
and
yeah, but
competitor.
like you were saying, like mentally and like the people like he has so many sound bites where you're like, oh shit, like this is that dude who's like, oh my god, and like the mentality was different with Kobe. It was did you guys see the other day the one where they're all talking about? I think it was on one of the documentaries, but it just came up in the Olympics when they're playing Paul Gasol and they're like
Oh
first
yeah,
play
he
of the
went
game.
right through
I'm
him. It
you
was
running
want to
first
right
make
through,
play.
it.
and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. I remember that.
and dude, they show like every single superstar, like LeBron, D Wade. They're like, oh, like no, you're not going to do that good.
It's your
And then
teammate. Yeah.
yeah, that's your. And then they show the clip, and he just runs him over, and they're all just
Run him
Boom.
like.
through.
And then
Yeah.
even then they go to like Paul Gasol, and he's like, yes, even though we are brothers, he
Not
had to
today.
show. And then he's like, yeah, not today, bro.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
like,
So
you guys love that.
I just want to say that the best way to compare LeBron with Kobe is when they were playing each other. And let me tell you, man, Kobe always took it to LeBron
Yeah,
every time they had to. Every time it was the game on the line. Remember, Kobe was the one that would choose the best player in the other team in the last 5 minutes. You know,
yeah, he
and
was
when
that guy.
Kobe when Kobe went to the finals 3 years in a row that he lost one to Boston, LeBron was supposed to be there. He didn't make it. Kobe was waiting for him
Because
there.
Boston
Hmm.
beat him.
So
Yeah, that's a good point.
and he beat Boston too. So all I'm saying is 30. I think it was 28 or 30 teams. The owners they say,
Yeah,
who do you want with the last with the
yeah,
last shot in the game? It wasn't LeBron. It was Kobe. So it's
yeah.
easy to bypass Kobe, but and again they're both great. So um, one question for you: old school MMA. Who do you got? Who do you think wins? GSP or Frank Shamrock?
Ooh, man, in their
That's a good one.
yeah,
Yeah.
even so I'm gonna be biased on this. And let me go back real quick to the basketball conversation. I have no I have no business arguing who the greatest basketball player is.
It's
I'm just
opinion.
Yeah.
having
It's
No. I
fun.
mean.
opinion. It's
Well.
opinion.
Yeah.
It's
Very
yeah.
opinionated. But anyway, MMA, I got a little bit more. I will say though, I am more biased because I I kind of miss Frank Shamrock's best years because he was a little bit before my time. But GSP was my guy. Like the other day we did like a Q&A at my gym. We were asking who like the best fighter was, and I think overall George St. Pierre, he was like the first fighter when I started watching. He was already like about to be champion. I watched him become champion. I watched him lose. No, I watched him lose to Matt Hughes. They come back and beat Matt Hughes, then do the same thing with Matt Serra, and then dominate. For a while. But they were always doing like the prime times, or they called it like 24/7 or prime time. You guys know what I'm talking about? With like they would do like the lead up to the fight, and it would be like an hour of like what he was doing. Like, oh, I'm going to my training.
Okay.
This is what I do. So he was like one of the first guys where I watched him and I'm like, oh shit, like he does that. That's amazing. And like I want to be like that. Like I want to train every day. I want to learn every aspect of martial arts. I want to, dedicate my life to this. So GSP for me was like the complete martial artist. So for me, especially if you give him a full training camp, I think GSP would beat anyone around that weight class.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Let me ask you. Do you own your own trading card? Like
Yes, I do.
sports?
Yeah. They make a bunch. They make a bunch of different ones. With I got like what's the company called? It's not Tops. Is it Tops? I don't know, but yeah, they actually have I know. So the biggest, they make a bunch of different Billy Q cards, and the biggest customer of those is my brother Austin, who's a year older than me. He like, I guess like if you go on like eBay and stuff, there's people are always selling them, and he's always like finagling people, like getting good deals on them, and he's got like stacks of them.
Oh,
So
really?
my brother's probably has like probably a couple hundred of them, and I probably have like 20 of them. and like I got like a few like autograph ones, which is like pretty funny.
Hold on, time out, man.
Now, was
Wait,
it
wait a
you?
minute.
Was
You
it you that autographed that one?
autograph your own card
Yeah, so this is how it works. They
for
send
yourself?
me they send me a bunch of like these like little stickers, and I sign all of them. So like I think I signed like 5,000 of them, where I'm like
Ooh,
boom, boom,
man.
boom, boom,
So
and then then I send them back. They put them on the cards, and then they like distribute them. And then usually my brother buys them, and then he sends them to me. So it goes full circle.
So, do you own any of those that has like a piece of a short or like a piece of something, any special,
Yep.
insert or whatever?
Yeah, they made those too. So what they did with that was they sent me a box of like UFC clothes, and they're basically like just wear these clothes like a few times and send them back. So like
Wow.
I like trained in them, I like wear them, like,
There you go.
and then I sent them back, and now the same thing. They sent me the
Wait, so
clothes, I wore them, they sent them back, they cut them up, they put them in the cards, they sent them out. Usually my brother scooped
And
them
your
up,
brother buys some.
and then he sends them back to me. So it's like,
wait, I think I'm gonna buy a couple of them so I can send it your way so you can sign for me. Is that okay?
yeah, so people do them all the time.
Awesome.
They either send it to my gym, Gracie Pack, or Gracie Tampa South, and people actually send me like really nice letters, which is like really cool. And then they're like, "Here's my card. Can you send it back for me?" And they usually send their mailing address. I just send them right back.
Awesome.
Wait, so let me ask you. I know we about time already.
Yes,
So
sir.
uh, listen, I keep going with questions, man. But Bola, do you have any questions before I finish?
Yeah. Before we're finishing up, we can see the trajectory of all the fighters. Who have people take different routes. People happens differently for all of them. But in your case, or personally, what do you suggest for the new guys coming up? The new guys that want to get into this, the younger guys that want to get into this.
Yeah, man.
What's the best steps to start?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually just did like a kids seminar at my gym, and I'm like talking to the kids about, like what I went through. And I think the biggest thing is first, and this is with anything, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do after high school. I knew I didn't want like a boring job. I knew I didn't want to like sit in an office all day.
Yeah, nine to
So
five.
a,
Yeah.
a lot of people probably stress to their kids like do what makes the most money, but really it's like try to figure out what you want to do every single day. Like, how do you want to live your life every single day, and then get really good at that. Like, let's say you have to do something. What do you want to do? And think to yourself, what can I do for, like, what do you think I could do for years and years and years and get really good at? And it's not going to like make me depressed and make me upset and make me want to hate my life. So that's the biggest thing. And then if you know that's what you want to do, you got to find a good gym. I suggest finding a gym of people who are doing what you want to do. So I knew Matt Arroyo was in the UFC. He said, "Hey, I can get you in the UFC." All right, that's what I want. I'm going to work with you until he shows me that he can't help me get there. Then I'm going to believe that. So get with people who are doing what you want to do, and figure out, study go to as many places or study as much as you can, so you figure out how to be the best in the world at what you do. And then the last part is you just got to work your ass off. You got to make it your goal to be the hardest worker in the room, doing all the stuff like showing up on time, listening, paying attention, studying when you're not at the academy, doing all that extra stuff to get to the point where you put yourself in a position, to fight for 6 figures, 7 figures one day, because that should be your ultimate goal, to get in the fight game, make as much money as you can, and then get out without getting too banged up.
Yeah, that's always a danger that people got to run through. I mean, that's normal.
Yeah, of
Billy,
course.
who
It's part of the game.
Billy, who are your sponsors, man?
Oh man, I got a few really good ones. My biggest ones are Once Upon a Coconut. I'm actually sipping on. Oh no, it's like blurry.
There you go.
Sipping on
Once
the
upon
good
a
stuff right
coconut.
now. Once Upon a Coconut. They're my guys. I've known them forever. They are the owner, John Chiarando, gives back more money than I've ever seen someone do. And it motivates me to not only get to the point where I could do that, to give back that much, but they say like, why do you want to be rich? Some people are like, oh, because I want fast cars and like
Yeah.
big houses. But man, why why do you want to make a ton of money? So you can give it back to people that either helped you out or who need it or that you want to help. And that's the biggest thing that I would like to get to in my life, where I can just give back as much as I can. I try to do that every day where I'm giving back. And that company, like when I started working with them and I saw what they were doing, I was like, oh, okay, like this is different. This is not just like a company that says they do all these good things. They really do. And I watched it firsthand. So they're a huge one. No judges needed. I know they helped David out too. Our guy Troy Regano is just the man. There it is right there. There it is. That's a two for one sponsor. As David knows, the owner of that, Troy Regano, he started sponsoring me once I moved to Tampa. He's like, I think you have a lot of potential. I want to work with you. I want to help you out. And again, just helping and giving back. And we also get to train with him. He's like 115 years old and he's still training every day and beating people up, and he looks great. So he's like my brother. So he's like my brother / older, stepdad or something. Just a great guy.
Hey Billy, first of all, that company you say, can you repeat the name again for the coconuts? Just about coconuts or Once Upon a Coconut?
It's called Once Upon a Coconut. And if
Once
you look
upon a coconut,
yeah,
it's like a juice.
It's pure coconut water, and then they add some flavors in. So like this one, it's just coconut water and watermelon juice. It's just basically like the juice from watermelon. It's really basic, and it's like obviously healthy. So that's why I like it. I like to get away from the sodas and drink healthy stuff.
Gotcha. Oh no, it sounded like a vacation package. But but let me ask you. Before I lose my thought. David, no judges needed. Do they make rashes? Rash guards for people like me that do not have the CPAC pack anymore, and I don't have to look like with a big old belly when I put in.
Yeah, I mean, if you got,
or you have to be super fitted to use those.
If you end up having,
I lost 30 pounds, man. I lost 30 pounds in 2 months because I say, you know what?
I found them. I found your pounds. I got them.
But not everybody's lucky like me that can drop 30 pounds like that in 2 months, so
I mean, hey, we got t-shirts and what else? We got hoodies too, so
hoodies.
Cover it up.
Do they make the hoodie with the zipper or just the hoodie that you have? With the zipper as well? Nice.
Yeah, they got multiple.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. So man, listen, yeah, go ahead. Oh, you have a cat too? Everybody has cats around there, man.
Yeah, I got one going around my back too. It's black like that. It's just
we all have cats like
that.
Bad luck.
One question for you, Q. Before we get out of here, your top moment, at least off the top of your head, your top moment since getting in the UFC. It could be anything: a conversation, a fight, a finish, interview, whatever. Just your top moment off the top of your head since getting in the UFC.
Yeah, that's there's I'm lucky that I'm lucky to get to the point where like even when you mention it, I'm trying to think of I'm like, oh, my UFC debut was dope. The first time I got a bonus was dope. The first time fighting at MSG was dope. There's a lot of, but the biggest one for me, it was the Alex Hernandez fight where we come out. We're getting crazy. We're whipping shots at each other. He ends up cutting my face open right here. Mm-hmm. Nasty elbow. In between rounds, I'm bleeding everywhere. Like it's just there's like a good sized crowd, T-Mobile Arena, and then I'm able to come back. He's still busting me up. He's still looking for the kills, and I was able to turn it around on. I landed some big shots. I ended up getting the finish. Ended up getting a performance bonus from that as well. But that was just what I love about that is I can show my kids like, listen, this is an 8-minute video, and this is what life is, because it's not always going to be like, sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes life's going to, beat the shit out of you. And it's how you react from that. It would have been easy for me to been like, oh, freaking out because I'm bleeding everywhere. But I remember thinking of my son and being like, all right, like the fight's still going on. And sure enough, in his head, he was probably like, damn, this dude, I just hit this guy with like the biggest elbow. He's bleeding everywhere, and he's still marching me down, hitting me with punches. So it's just something that I could, show my kids when I'm older, and a moment where I can look at them like, dude, this is why you train so hard. It's because moments like this where you could have easily lost, and coming back and winning, made you maybe $100,000 more money. But more importantly, like, what you're really about. Like when shit doesn't go your way, you can still come back and get after it.
Yes.
Hey Billy,
Awesome.
is it a squid or an octopus?
The squid.
No, wait,
It's
wait, wait. I met you before Burns. I met you, in the gym with David, and
Yep.
you got me one of those for me and one for for a girlfriend of
Yeah.
mine, a
Oh
friend
yeah,
of
the
mine
headbands. Yes.
that she
Yeah. Yeah.
trains. Yes, and it was like it's like an octopus or squid. So I'm like, wait a minute, I heard they call him that before. Something. What is that about?
Yeah. So this is what that's about. So it's Billy the Squid. It's a nickname that I don't use it officially in the UFC because Billy the Squid. It's more of like my jiu-jitsu name, and we would always joke, like me and Matt Favola and all these guys. He would be like, "Yo, squid him up," because I'd be like, I would joke that I'm like an octopus. That like if I get a hold of you, I just wrap you up and like put you in a body lock, and basically like they would ask what your style is. I'm like, oh, I'm like a squid out there. But the octopus, there's also a really good story. It was from I think like the Washington Zoo or one of these aquariums like years ago. And Coach Shane actually put me onto this video, and they had this huge like aquarium with all these different animals. They had like they had an octopus, they had all these fish, whatever, sharks, dolphins, and so they added these two new sharks that were like mid-sized sharks. So the sharks are swimming around, and again, this aquarium is enormous, and those sharks don't have any like predators, so like they weren't worried about anything. And sure enough, one of the sharks goes missing. So they're like, the hell happened to the shark? Like, there's nothing in there that will like attack it or eat it. And sure enough, they play back the video, and sure enough, it was swimming around too low, and this octopus came out of nowhere and grabbed it and pulled him back under and killed him. So like what I love about that is they always joke like, oh, Billy, takes him to deep waters. And if you've ever heard the jiu-jitsu expression, like the old Gracie expression where it's like the ground is my ocean and I'm a shark and most people can't even swim. And I kind of joke that like my style is more like that giant octopus than like a shark. Like I'm not like, I'm not like the most technical jiu-jitsu guy, but like, man, if I wrap you up and get a hold of you,
down.
yeah, I'm gonna get your ass. I don't
It's
care.
a wrap.
And that's the thing. I don't care
Exactly.
if you're a shark. I'm coming at you, and I'm gonna do what I can do.
There
So
you
that's
go.
where great Billy the Squid, but also we have like the Gracie octopus now because it is more of like an octopus style than because you don't really see too many squids doing that. But you also, and there's another thing, you can't be called Billy the Octopus because you can't ever have a name with puss in your name if you're a fighter. They just can't you can't be Billy the Puss. So
Right.
Billy the Squid sounds better.
Definitely that.
All right,
Yeah,
yo,
the squids
Billy,
are a lot
listen,
better.
I'm gonna ask
Appreciate
you
it,
the
man.
last question. The last question because I can keep going on and on and on and on. You
Yeah,
probably noticed already. So
yeah.
the last question is, I heard you have an OnlyFans, right? So which to us is kind of weird. It's like is that like triple X or whatever? So my question is, your next fight for people to find out it's gotta be through your OnlyFans or what's going on?
No, no. Thanks for mentioning that. I had a 1-year contract with OnlyFans, which I enjoyed doing. We didn't post any weird stuff like that. It was all like training videos and like predictions and stuff like that. So my next fight, I'm hoping to announce it soon. I'm hoping to get it soon. I'm hearing the UFC's coming to Tampa December 14th. I would love I would love to fight before that just because I'm ready. Like I don't like what am I waiting for? I'm not getting any younger, but at the same time, Tampa is like obviously a massive bucket. Like it's one of the things that I still want to do in my career. So this might be the only opportunity I get to like I would be able to sleep in my bed the night
Ooh.
before a UFC fight, and literally Emily's like 20 minutes down the road. So it's like it's going to be hard to pass up. But if they give me something in the meantime, I'll let you guys know first. I'll announce it, post
There you
it,
go.
and you guys don't even have to go on. You don't have to go on OnlyFans. It'll be out to everyone to see.
Good. I want to get out of
All right,
that.
buddy. All right, man. Thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure, man.
If anybody has a question, go ahead. But I know it's time we went over. Sorry about that, Billy. Who
Appreciate
wins
it.
tonight? Drakers or Adesanya?
I got Izzy. So real quick, thank you guys for having me, David. You're the man. I'll see you on the mat soon. I appreciate you
My
coming to
dog.
Gracie Pack. A lot of guys don't come to Pack. Everyone's so used to coming to the one gym. I'm like, bro, everyone there we can coexist for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna go with
Yep.
Izzy. He's one of my favorite fighters ever. I watched him live a few times. The craziest one was MSG when he knocked out Derek Brunson. I was like, holy shit! Like, who's this dude? So Izzy's been my favorite. He's kind of a weird dude. He was like crying the other day at the press conference.
I saw
But
that.
I don't get that. But at the same time, you ask certain questions, you can get, start
Yeah.
talking about your family and kids. I get that. So I'm rocking with Izzy. Who do you guys got?
I can decide, man.
It's crazy because I think the way the last couple fights have played out, smart money might be on DDP.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, I was actually at that fight live when he beat up Whitaker, and I was like, me and everyone else in the crowd's like what? No one was expecting that. Like Robert Whitaker. Ooh. So yeah, it's gonna be a great fight.
And the thing is that Dracos he lose, like he's getting tired, and suddenly he comes on the next round, like he's not tired at all, which is weird to me because he's very muscular. But I don't know, man. I think I don't want to put Easy out, but I think I might have to go with Dracos, man. I don't know. I got a feeling, man. I think so, man.
Well, let the best man win.
All right, Bola. All right, oye, Billy. Thank you for being here with us, man.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully, we got you again one of these days.
Yes, sir.
Definitely. All right, man.
All right, fellas.
Oye, David. All right, let me end the recording. Wait.